And a very good morning to you, Grenada. I'm so happy to say good morning. Thank you very much for joining us for today's edition of Gudday Grenada. Happens to be the 15th day of April 2019. I'm George Grant. Pilgrims, let's take a look at the rundown. Got an interesting morning. Don't have anybody live this morning. Ain't that interesting? Yeah. However, we do have a couple of pre-produced segments which I'd like to share with you. So let's get right to it. The first item we're going to share at the top of the program this morning is captioned, "A Long Way from Grenada, but Worth Watching." Yeah, interesting? Give you the details about that in just a wee bit. And then we have for you Friday's edition of the National Report. Okay? And we're going to wrap it up with another interesting segment. It's a program which I pre-recorded one day this past week. We were actually hoping to get it on yesterday, but couldn't because we were just chock-a-block. We had a lot going on, but we're going to run that for you this morning. And it is captioned, listen to this title, "Heavenly Culture, World Peace, Restoration of Light." That is a mouthful. Indeed it is. So, my dear friends, we're going to begin with our first segment this morning. And, I think that everyone should watch this brave Indian Police Service officer's TED Talk. Everybody knows about TED Talk, a feature which appears regularly on social media. This lady is calling out political corruption, yeah, and sexism in India. She has reportedly been transferred every year in her career of 17 years. But that has not stopped Rupa Mudgil from serving as an honest IPS officer. IPS is the Indian Police Services. Her TED Talk is only a glimpse of what life is like for law-abiding female officers in a corrupt, male-dominated bureaucratic system. Some excerpts from her talk reveal that her political system is exactly how you see it in the movies. And she is an image of the hero we all want to change all of this. In her recently delivered powerful talk, she talks about how it is easier to succumb to the pressures of political corruption and give in to the system rather than fight back. Politicians, she says, measure their influence based on the number of police officers that surround them. She recalls instances in her career where she took on powerful people, like members of parliament, who used their power to stop her from carrying out her duty. And she uses every incident to highlight how every politician embeds a culture of fear among officers in India. Check this out.
When people enter the Indian Police Service, the IPS, they are starry-eyed and they have Singham-like idealism in mind. But as days roll by and they become part of the system, their idealism waxes and wanes. And the first sign of this is when the officer begins to think in terms of what his political boss wants rather than what the law demands. My first rendezvous with a politician was way back in August 2004. I was in my first independent charge as the police head of any district. I was posted in Dharwad district. I was just a month old in that post. The local court had issued a non-bailable warrant against the then Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh. Executing non-bailable warrant meant arresting her. Eventually, this incident led her to resign from the post of Chief Minister. But for me, trust me, though this incident involved a person as high profile as the Chief Minister of a state, this has been the easiest challenge till date. In India, we have a deep-rooted menace of VIP culture. The VIPs, particularly the politicians, are given special treatment of various kinds, one such being policemen given as gunmen to politicians. Now, in most of the situations, even when there is no real threat, gunmen are given as status symbols, and the more the gunmen, the higher the status it is perceived. And it's not an exaggeration at all that many a time most of these gunmen are used as boys to run errands. I was posted as the Deputy Commissioner of Police, Bengaluru City Armed Reserve, and my job was to supervise man management, personnel deployment, and therefore I took stock of the situation as to where my boys had been deployed. And to my utter shock, I found that a number of politicians, the public representatives, the MLAs, MPs, MLCs, and so on, had kept gunmen in excess of the authorized number they were supposed to keep. Now, I made a list. There were 82 politicians who had kept about 216 gunmen in excess of the number they were entitled. I started withdrawing them. The first resistance came from my own boss, who reprimanded me in front of my subordinate officers. Yet, undeterred, I completed the task. I withdrew till the last excess gunman came back to the unit. In the same stroke, I also withdrew 8 brand new SUVs kept by the then ex-Chief Minister of Karnataka. The man had stepped down from the post of Chief Minister, yet the vehicles had continued to be with him. I withdrew the vehicles, but I often wondered why my predecessors had not acted. What prevented them from setting things right? I later learned that these are called the dirty jobs. They are unpleasant tasks, inviting the wrath of the politicians, and nobody wants to do them. Not very long ago, I was posted as DIG Prisons, Bengaluru. I was there in that post for barely 17 working days, barring all the Sundays and holidays. And during that time, I witnessed similar special treatment being given to a convict. This convict was very powerful. She had been the close aide of the ex-Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu who died recently. The convict herself was slated to be the Chief Minister some time ago in that state. Now, the Supreme Court had convicted her under Corruption Act for possessing disproportionate assets beyond her known sources of income. Flouting the Honorable Supreme Court's orders, the jail officials had given special facilities to her as quid pro quo. So I reported this irregularity. And soon after this report, a number of people asked me, was your act a well thought out one or something done at the spur of the moment? Frankly speaking, I did not think of the consequences. There was no need to, because I was clear in my mind that I had acted in a manner most transparent and accountable, which every public servant is expected to. Now, after this report, I was slapped a defamation suit notice. So what is the take home? If you stir hornet's nest, be prepared for all kinds of oddities and notices. Now the law is very clear, rules are very clear. If a public representative is booked or named in the FIR as accused, be it the MLA or MLC or MP, he cannot claim it as his privilege. There can't be any privilege motion against the person who does it. Yet, unjustifiably, I was slapped the notice. I was made to appear before the privilege committee of the state legislature a number of times, and it dragged on for several years. And now, what is the take home? What is the lesson that the politician is driving home in this? He is trying to teach the lesson to a bureaucrat. If you take me head on, this is what is going to be meted out to you. He is creating a fear psychosis in the mind of not just that particular individual bureaucrat, but in the whole clan of bureaucrats. And if the bureaucrat gets scared and succumbs, the politician succeeds in his purpose. Trust me, not many officers are willing to face such notices, because for acts done in official capacity, these kind of notices create a lot of personal discomfiture. They take away personal time, energy, peace of mind, and of course money if you have to fight it out in the court of law, and therefore nobody wants to face them. But in my personal opinion, just like every occupation has its own occupational hazards, these notices, be it the privilege notice or the contempt notice or any other kind of notice, defamation notice, whichever, they are the occupational hazards which have to be faced boldly by the bureaucrat. Now, coming to the challenges that I faced as a woman in male-dominated police force, the peril is that the woman officer could be ignored, taken for granted, taken lightly. Her instructions can be thrown to air at times. I had one such shocking experience in Gudday district. In 2008, I was heading Gudday district police force. There was a powerful politician who had been a minister earlier. He addressed a gathering of his followers and made an inciting speech that made his followers to set ablaze on fire 3 government buses soon after his speech. Now, government buses mean public property bought out of taxpayers' money. I instructed my subordinate, the second in command of the rank of DYSP, to arrest the politician as he was prima facie guilty of abetment of the offense, and there was videographed evidence of his speech. Now, to my utter shock, not only my subordinate resisted, refused, but also kept on arguing relentlessly and kept lying to me that the politician had already left the town. I too did not budge. I had reached the police station in the morning and I kept sitting throughout the day. So it became evening, it became night. The clock struck 9 at night, 9:15, 9:30, 10. And finally, when the police staff saw that I'm not budging out, they somehow managed to get the politician to the police station. And then I instructed the station house officer of the police station to carry on the arrest procedures legally and to hand him over to the judicial custody, which was carried out. Now, upon the subordinate who had been lying to me, I took upon an inquiry and found that he was in constant touch with that politician over phone, though he had been lying to me that he was nowhere to be found. To this effect, I sent a report against the subordinate, the DSP, to the government as well as the Election Commission of India, because by that time election machinery was in place, and the government suspended him and he remained in suspension for more than a year. Now, challenges therefore are manifold, yet if the officer is willing to take risks, if the officer has nothing to hide, if he is clear in mind that he has acted lawfully and is fair, if he does not cling on to politicians for perks, cushy postings and so on, and last but not the least, if he has kept his bags packed ready to move out anytime if transferred, then such an officer, he or she, becomes a force to reckon with. Now, you might see that it's a commonplace knowledge that the MLAs, the MPs, the MLCs, these posts are created under the Constitution of India, but one must not forget that it is under the same Constitution, the All India Services, the IAS, the IPS are created. And Article 311 of the Constitution gives complete protection to the bureaucrat for acts done in official capacity, and it is available to every officer in the country, including the state services. So the day the bureaucrats are able to come out of the phobia of transfers, the phobia of politicians, we will have the best bureaucracy in the world. Karl Marx once said, bureaucracy is an iron cage, but I find that our bureaucrats have chained themselves. They are the ones holding the chains. The day they break away from these self-imposed chains, the day they start exercising their real power, we will see a new India. Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Is there anything in there that sounds familiar to you? By the way, I'll tell you what, I understand that the accent was a little bit difficult to understand, but for those of you who may have missed any part of it, I suggest that after the program is over, go on back to Facebook and later on today YouTube and check it out. Check it out. Read the captions, okay? So you're not going to miss out on anything, okay? Ah, boy. How many of you have the guts that woman has? Sometimes it's described as intestinal fortitude. She has it. On Facebook this morning, Fragrance Emmanuel. Let me ask you this. Fragrance, do you sleep alongside your smart device just to be first every morning? Well, at least for the last couple of mornings. Good to see you. Yes. She's saying good morning. And Peter Bishop is checking in from Long Island this morning. Good morning, Pedro. Fitzroy Adams is also saying hi, and Esther Morgan is also saying hi to all the ardent listeners. Margaret is sending you her hola, hola. Thanks, Mags. Donna Joseph, where's Donna here? Donna's saying good morning to the wider audience. And Kipling sending his blessings to everybody. Peter responded to that little piece you just heard by saying, news to my ears. You're funny, Peter. And Bernard Gilbert's also saying good morning, pilgrims. All right. Up next, your national report. Hang in there.
I'm always on the move. Training, traveling, competing. So it's good to know I have Coop Bank in the palm of my hand.
Introducing e-banking, one of many customer convenience services from Grenada Cooperative Bank. And there's more to come.
It's swift, simple, and secure.
Welcome home.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Boy, they gonna fly with kite now. The wind picking up.
I'm coming. Karim, what you doing?
Fly my kite.
Yeah, but not here. You can't fly kite near power lines, boy.
Why not? The wind good.
Because mommy say kite threads conduct electricity.
Yeah, kite. He's right. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, you can cause power outages, or even worse, it can get shocked.
Come, let's go and fly them in the pasture.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kite threads conduct electricity. Do not fly kites near overhead power lines. This can lead to electric shocks and power outages. If your kite gets stuck in power lines, do not try to retrieve it. Release it and call GRENADA. Always fly kites in open areas. Keep your kites far away from roads. And remember, always clean up after yourself.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
Prime Minister calls for recommitment to regional security agencies. Details to this story and more in the National Report. With the details to the news for Friday, April 12th, I'm Delroy Louison. Prime Minister and Minister for National Security, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell, has called on CARICOM countries to recommit themselves to funding institutions that are part of the regional security infrastructure. Dr. Mitchell made the call during remarks delivered at the start of the 20th meeting of the Council of National Security and Law Enforcement, which was held in Grenada on Friday. Dr. Mitchell, who chaired the council meeting, said security must be treated with the importance it deserves. He said, quote, "We claim to have security as our #1 priority. The movement of people, trans-border crime, and the threat of terrorism pose significant challenges. Security is an item on the agenda of every heads of government meeting that I have attended," unquote.
We therefore must be prepared to finance the operation of the institutions that protect and serve us in that area. They serve us well, and we all benefit. It is important, therefore, that we all contribute to ensuring the sustainability of these organizations. The security of a region should never be compromised by our failure to demonstrate full commitment to our regional institutions.
The Prime Minister told local and regional delegates attending the meeting that they should not leave without frank discussion on the financing of the region's security architecture and important institutions such as CARICOM Impacts, the Regional Security System, and the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency. Friday's meeting served as preparation for a special summit of CARICOM heads of government scheduled for early May in Trinidad and Tobago, which will focus specifically on matters of security and give consideration to regional strategies and activities currently underway in the ongoing fight against crime. Meanwhile, CARICOM Secretary General Ambassador Owen LaRocque addressed the subject of crime, which he says must be tackled from a unified position. He says the high incidence of crimes committed with small arms and light weapons continue to be a source of concern for the community.
The statistics show that at least 70% of those violent crimes recorded has been perpetrated with the use of illegal firearms. These crimes are typically motivated by the trade in illicit guns, drugs, and gang activities. Incidents observed in 2018 illustrate a pattern for the movement of drugs and guns through our controlled ports. Our community has been putting an operational and legal framework in place to combat the scourge. With respect to identifying firearms and ammunition used in these crimes, an integrated ballistic information network is in operation in 5 countries, with moves underway to finance its expansion. We have in place an Advanced Passenger Information System, APIS, and have begun to establish an Advanced Cargo Information System, ACIS. Legal instruments finalized and signed include a CARICOM West Orange Treaty, return and sharing of recovered assets, and a mutual legal assistance treaty. Without the regional security strategy and architecture, we need to ask ourselves, would we have been able to achieve what we have done thus far?
The Child Protection Authority, CPA, brought its partners together on Friday to examine its draft strategic plan going forward. It's all part of government's efforts to improve the services provided to children, to improve its mandate by ensuring the safety and well-being of all children. Chairman of the CPA's Board of Directors, Mrs. Ann David Entwine, says all should be guided by their vision, a nation where all children grow in a safe and nurturing environment. But to achieve this, she says, they must focus on strategic planning to strengthen their operations and set priorities.
Every single person is a partner. We also know, just as you are fully aware, that partnership includes the parents and everyone in the society, everyone, in fact, who comes into contact with the children and who can have an impact on their lives.
The Child Protection Authority was established in 2010 as part of efforts to prevent child abuse. The authority has been working to improve the quality of its service delivery through improvement of the standards of its child protection services, staff capacity, and the enhancement of its referral systems. Director of the Child Protection Authority, Mrs. Yvonne Dabrio, hopes out of the review they will be able to effectively strategize on how they can all ensure the appropriate care and protection of the nation's children.
We hope coming out of this, we can be a best practice throughout the region. But in order for us to do that, there must be the positive synergy. The absence of this will be difficulties, challenges. But we also know there will be challenges. But we want to be able to work together.
This is the National Report. Stay with us. We'll have more news after the break.
The eyes of the world are on us more than ever. So let's take it to them. Saturday, May 4th, the Spice Mass Corporation launches Spice Mass 2019. the Caribbean's biggest summer festival. This year's launch starts with a roadshow from Ariza Car Park to the National Stadium from 3 p.m. Bring out your last year's costume and join the parade. It's one big experience with a display of fancy man, traditional man, Moko Jambi, and the most envied Jab Jab. The official opening is at the National Stadium, featuring your favorite soca artists and DJ, Calypso Monarch, Steel Pan Champion, and presentations of the 2019 Carnival Queen contestants, plus displays of 2019 costumes, SMC show tickets, and other attractions to be won. Saturday, May 4th, the National Stadium, the launch of Spice Mass 2019. Bring out the entire family. Log on to spicemassgrenada.com for more.
Welcome back with the news. Officials from the Ministry of Agriculture paid a visit to the Office of the Caribbean Agricultural Research and Development Institute, CARDI, on Friday to apprise themselves about ongoing projects. The team, which was led by Agriculture Minister the Honorable Yolande Bain-Hosford, included Chief Extension Officer Mr. Randolph Shears and Director of Research and Development Dr. Malachi Doughton. The team was brought up to date by manager Mr. Reginald Andel, who spoke to CARDI's operations from 2015 to present. A major focus is cassava production, which he believes should be more widely utilized in the diet of Grenadians.
We have seen, you know, despite we need to work on developing the sustainability of it and from a business point of view and so on. But we in the little that we have done, we have seen the positive impact even at the farmer level. More farmers now are growing cassava, whereas before people didn't want to grow cassava again because of this other market that they have coming through CARDI into the bakeries. See, so that has been a positive impact. And the need there is to expand on the thing, expand on the thing. I'd like to do some more promotion of the cassava bread and other pastries so that more people would demand it from the bakeries.
Dr. Malachi Doughton, Director of Research and Development at the Ministry of Agriculture, says there is an ongoing campaign about the benefits of consuming root crops.
We not only involve agriculture, we also involve food and nutrition. So food and nutrition will have developed menus which they have taught in the 4 pilot schools. And Dr. Martin also have worked with food and nutrition to guarantee that can be put into the menu to ensure that we can reduce some of the non-communicable disease. And that's crucial. So the ministry really want to highlight and compliment Mr. Andel for that collaboration.
Minister Bain-Hosford says CARDI must be commended for the initiative of the Cassava Project, which she says needs to be expanded.
This is something that, you know, we really have to look at seriously because we cannot just stop at this little juncture, you know, here.
That's right.
When you look at the quality of the bread that Village is putting out, when you look at the whole health factor, we just can't leave this project to struggle. We have to work with this project to make sure that cassava bread is in every shop in the village and the small man can buy the cassava bread to feed their children and so forth. That is what we have to look at, you know, getting the thing started, getting it going, but making sure that it filters down to the smallest person in the community who can buy a cassava bread because we know it's healthy.
With studies showing the many health benefits of cassava, Minister Bain-Hosford says the direction now is to have it replace some of the foods that are not nutritious.
Cassava should be on our table.
Well,
it should be the substitute for flour, and it should be the substitute for Irish potatoes.
And macaroni.
We're bringing in so much Irish potatoes in this country, and we could grow the cassava. We have fertile soil, we have good soil, we have 10 species. I had a tasting at Maribor. We have 10 species.
But around the country, there's a lot more.
There's probably much more.
There's a lot more.
But we have not done that. So that is something we're going to take up very seriously. Dr. Doughton has done a lot of work in that under the Zero Hunger program, introducing the whole concept, you know, there in the schools, etc. But we have the varieties. and we have to get the farmers to build on that.
That story concludes the national report for Friday, 12th April 2019. Recapping the headline, Prime Minister calls for recommitment to regional security agencies. On behalf of all of us here at the Government Information Service, I'm Delroy Louzan, thanking you for joining us.
Yeah. GIS takes us to just past the halfway mark in today's edition of Gudday Grenada. A couple of comments here. First of all, Peter Bishop, who was watching that newscast, says, PM Mitchell would know all about the benefits of security, but yet it was under his watch he appointed Fitzroy Bedeau as Commissioner of Police, when the said gentleman was dismissed from the RGPF for assaulting a junior officer years earlier. So much for confidence in the security sector. Goes on to say, the usual lip service from PM Mitchell. Then he adds, on another story, put more money into agriculture. Take some pointers from the New Today editorial if you're serious about moving our agriculture forward. May I also add to that, Pedro? Listen to what our youngsters on that new program, Woke, listen to what they have to say. They've been talking a lot about agriculture in the 5 weeks that they've been here on Grenada Broadcast. They'll be back on Thursday afternoon at 4, live on Facebook. And this week I understand they're going to have a guest we had on here yesterday with us, Mashida Phillip, who's a filmmaker. And she's got this 12 degrees north, 61 degrees west Grenada Film Festival coming up very shortly. So join the guys on Thursday for the next edition of Woke. And Peter is also calling upon the Minister of Agriculture to go to Carriacou and support the cassava farmers up there. Fitzroy Adams says, I am always hearing sustainable growth. Is it sustainable growth in backwardness? Okay. Margaret. Margaret continues to keep her eyes on things. Margaret says here, and she's talking to the GIS here this morning, she says there is a reason why transitions exist. To let the viewer or listener know that you're changing the story. All right? So 1 minute a hearing about security and raps a hearing about child welfare. Says Margaret. She says, GIS, I like you better than GBN. But sometimes, and let me tell you folks, it's not just the GIS Margaret goes after. Sometimes she comes after moi. That's what I like about the lady. She's fair. She's fair. And having worked in the media, she knows about standards. Yeah, she does. So I listen to her when she speaks. Anthony DeRiggs is saying good morning. He's listening on Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn on his walk back from the cardiologist. Good news. My heart is beating normally. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you. We're good. We're happy to hear that, Anthony. Thank you so much, keeping us informed. And boy, you have a lot to be thankful for. A lot. Okie dokie, pilgrims. Let me take another little break here. Come back with an interesting segment.
Grenadian General Insurance Company, strength and stability. Grenadian General Insurance Company. Tell your friends, tell your family. We cover householders comprehensive. Motor and even fire too. Contractors all risk burglary. Public liability. Professional indemnity. Directors liability. And wait, we still have more. Come and find out more what you're waiting for.
We are located on Scott Street, St. George's. For more information, call 440-2434.
Tell everybody.
Conveniently located in the Grand Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grenadans will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep.
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
Together with you, our customers, we energize our community.
Together with you, we energize our economy. We are working together to give our nation a better tomorrow.
With you, we energize our future. Together, we energize our nation.
Thank you for partnering with us as we energize our Spice-Eye.
Grenlec, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, folks, looks like we're going to end on time this morning. The next piece you're about to see is captioned, Heavenly Culture, World Peace, Restoration of Light. As I mentioned, we pre-recorded that sometime last week. The piece you're going to watch speaks for itself. Check this out. Alrighty, folks, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Education, and the Ministry of Tourism, Civil Aviation, and Culture met this past week with Heavenly Culture, World Peace, Restoration of Light. Quite a mouthful. To discuss supporting an international peace law, as well as planning projects like Peace Week in Grenada, which will enable youth and families to incorporate peace-building initiatives in their communities. HWPL, a United Nations-affiliated peace-building organization, has toured several Caribbean countries, hosting Peace Weeks from St. Kitts and Nevis to Belize to Antigua, who has signed the National Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War with HWPL earlier this year. As you take a look at your screen, on the left, you're seeing Joanne Calapados. I got it right. First time. And Daniel Haynes. I want to start with you, Joanne. Let's start right at the bottom. tell us what on earth is Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light?
So as you kind of started to mention, HWPL is an international peace organization, and really it was started by Korean War veteran Chairman Lee, who after seeing the atrocities of war really had a heart to want to spend his life dedicated to working for peace. And so that's kind of how our organization started, and our main goals really is to bring this international peace law that can cease all wars. And some activities that we do within that are also these peace education programs. So we'd really love to come to Grenada and be bringing our peace education programs to kind of show the youth how to not just looking at peace as a global issue, something that doesn't matter to them here in Grenada, but really that peace is something that can start with each person, and that within each individual, even within everyday interactions at schools, youth, with each other at school or with their families at home, with their friends, that really there's ways to even resolve interpersonal conflicts peacefully, and how we can even promote just a culture of peace within Grenada. I mean, Grenada, as we know, is a pretty peaceful country. Ever since the 1980s, everyone here really experienced, with the revolution. And ever since then, it's really been a place where we can even tell since we've gotten here that it's a really peaceful culture. But even wanting to ensure that that continues, and that peace and that culture of peace can be maintained, that's why we really wanted to come to Grenada and kind of show our work here as well.
I noticed in your introduction you were hopeful that you could bring peace and end all wars in the world. Do you honestly feel that that's a realistic goal? And you're going to take this one?
Sure, I'll take this one. That's a great question. And I think that's part of the stigma behind peace and peace work, is that it's something that's not achievable. But when you look at the history of the last 2 centuries, we see that wars have steadily been on the decline. The life expectancy is going up. So the trajectory for the world is a world that is at peace. You see many ministries that deal with now either culture or ministries of peace or departments of peace that are now starting to pop up all around the world. You even see the culture here in Grenada, where everyone understands the concept of peace, and it's something that's at the tip of people's tongues and they're able to speak about. So what we try to do as an organization is how can we bridge those gaps? The gap between international law and educating the youth and the general public on how these international laws can have an effect on their lives as a whole. So I think the Caribbean is a special place because there is an absence of wars, and as a result of that, there is a very appreciation and value of peace that is not something that's been found in other countries as of right now.
You guys are based in Washington, right?
So we're based not only in Washington D.C., but our headquarters is in Korea, and we have branches in Korea.
Korea. Okay.
And we have branches all over the world, going on almost 100 different branches. So the Washington D.C. office is responsible not only for international law, but also for doing the work of peace education in the Caribbean and Latin America.
And I take it when you say Korea, you're talking South Korea.
Yeah. That is a great point. Yes, South Korea.
Okay. As I look at you guys are pretty young people. Is your organization made up of youngsters and not old fogies like myself?
It's made up of both. I think the old fogies, as you put it, have experienced war. They have experienced conflict, and as a result, they have a desire for peace and the absence of disturbing of individuals' lives. On the other hand, we have a lot of youth, because the youth are the future. Meaning educating the youth, promoting peace from the youth is something that will have a lasting impact for generation to generation. Joanne's pretty young, but I just look young. I'm getting pretty old myself.
Your hair is still pretty darn black as far as I can see.
It's black, but it's going back. That's the problem.
You know, you folks sent me some literature a couple of days ago, and I just want to quote something here. It says, Grenada takes the first step in supporting international peace law. What was that step?
So it's the very first step. We were able to go ahead and meet with the different ministries. One thing that's very important to understand about peace is that it's all encompassing of a lot of different activities. It encompasses international relations, it encompasses education, it encompasses culture, it encompasses youth and sports. So us as an organization, understanding that, we took the first step by now going ahead to meet with these different ministers and ministries to now see how our organization can work in a way that really best fits Grenada. So when we say first step, it is the very first step in terms of not only working for peace, but also declaring a declaration of peace through Grenada. So we're very hopeful that the Prime Minister and the different ministries, after they gather and meet, this is something that they'll be able to work towards, not only here at home, but also at CARICOM and eventually at the United Nations.
Who were the ministers you met with here?
Yes, we met briefly with the Minister Cox, as well as his
culture, I think.
Yes, at culture. We met with his staff, the Chief Education Officer, Susan Jones. We met with Minister David.
Peter David.
Peter David with
that's Foreign Affairs, I think.
Yep,
Okay.
Foreign Affairs office or ministry, and then we met with we met with the Ministry of Education through Mr. Ando.
Okay. During these meetings, I would imagine that you got your feelers out. I mean, you just didn't come here to sit on the beach, did you?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
But we are going to sit on the beach.
But you are going to sit on the beach as soon as you get out of here. What feeling did you get coming out of those meetings? Are these guys interested? Are they listening? Are they motivated?
So I cannot explain this more. It's very invigorating for us to go and meet with ministers who are actually not only ready to hear a message of peace, but very willing to act on it. That was something that I think Joanne mentioned. We felt it when we got off the plane. The people here were very kind, were very nice, and when we met with the ministers, we could understand that that wasn't something just on the individual level, but it's something even from the government national level as well. So they were all very very interested in working towards peace, very willing to open the doors to peace. As a government, I know they have to do their due diligence, and so they're coming together to discuss these initiatives, and then from there will kind of instruct us on what are the next steps that we can take.
And I would imagine that you spent a lot of your time explaining your initiatives to them.
Yes, so we had constant communication with them over the past couple months, and we were able to explain some of our initiatives. So this was really that first step meeting. It was really an opportunity for us to see them face to face, for them to hear out of our mouth and see our heart, and for us to really see their heart. And hopefully this will be the first step in a very fruitful relationship going forward.
Daniel, I'm curious. Share with me some of those initiatives.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the initiatives that we actually just came from was it's called the True Story Book. So it's a book about the start of this work that we've been working on. But more than promoting our organization, it's meant to promote the culture of peace. For instance, when you go to a museum or you go to see a memorial, it's usually dedicated to a very turmoil point of history, either war or slavery or something very much related to death. So that's all part of culture, and that's all part of our past and our history, and we can never forget that and have to hold on to that, but we have to start to look towards the future. So some of those activities is something like promoting peace culture, promoting peace through literature. These are ways where kids can gather and they can see this and hopefully start to readjust kind of their culture and understanding of the promotion of peace. We've done peace education seminars where we come to describe the culture of peace and the absence of, or the how teaching kids how to resolve conflict. So we work with the ministries and the schools and the principals in order to tailor that program exactly to what they need. We do things like peace walks. So in Korea and DC and other parts of the world, we've gathered thousands of youths, up to 50,000, to put on peace walks. And we have ministers come and speak at these walks. So really bringing together the people with those who are representing them in government and showing how together their hearts can be really one for peace. So those are some of the many different activities that we've done in the past.
Tell me some of the places where you have already set up base.
So our main base for the Caribbean and Latin America is right now in DC. So we've been doing a lot of traveling, but yeah, when you travel to the Caribbean, there's no complaining that you can do. So we've gone to Antigua. Okay. We've done peace education programs there, as well as we have met with Prime Minister Gaston Brown, and they've actually signed a national declaration. We've also gone to Belize, to St. Kitts, and to Montserrat to do the work of peace education. Now, each program and each pilot program, I should say, was a little bit different based on what was needed from that school. I think one of my favorite initiatives that we've done so far was actually in Antigua. We were able to go and kind of put on about 2 hours worth of education programs. So you can imagine the planning that went into keeping kids' attention for 2 hours. It was extensive.
Yeah, yeah.
But afterwards, what was so moving was we were able to have them write letters. So this isn't something we prompted. We just said, write a letter on what does it mean to be a peace messenger. And so these kids took what they learned and they were able to write how they wanted to be a peace messenger at home, how they wanted to be peace messengers in their country, how they wanted to be peace messengers for and represent their country on the global scale. So anything from stopping bullying in school to listening to their parents more to some of them asking to be prime minister. These are all things that they all pulled from what was taught. So it's really showing that if you educate the youth on peace, this is not something that's just going to be kind of this, beauty pageant. We want peace thing. But there's actionable steps that we have to take, education steps that we have to take to make sure that's a future that we all get to see.
All right, I don't want to leave Joanne out of this, so I'm gonna fire this question at both of you. But Joanne, please jump in. Okay. This one has to do with monitoring the program. I mean, you guys have been doing this for how long have you been doing this?
Actually, not very long. We're about a 4-year-old program.
Okay. And now that you've been meeting with these various islands, the administrators in these islands, I imagine that you're going to have some sort of monitoring process, just to see how things are going. What would you like to see in order to be able to sit back and say, hey, you know what, the trip I made to Grenada was worth it. Look, such and such is happening. What would you like to see? Let's start with you, Joanne.
So could you ask the question again? Sorry.
Now that you have met with the officials, okay, I imagine that you're going to be doing follow-ups just to make sure that your work here has been successful, okay? What indicators would you be looking for that would enable you to sit down in Washington or wherever you're from and say, hey, listen, man, that trip to Grenada was worth it. Look what's happening.
Well, so of course, every country that we go to, we want to leave with obviously this message of peace and spreading a culture of peace wherever we go. And so really in Grenada, what we'd love to see is that we're able to go into the schools and not just teach a program and leave, but that the trainings that we're able to do with the students really help impact even their daily lives and looking at a local level of peace, but then also looking at that internationally as well. Because while the Caribbean, as we've said, might not be experiencing wars right now, we have that past that we've been talking about. And something that we've talked about with every person that we've met while we've been here is really maintaining that peace by making sure that the youth of Grenada even understand how important it is that they also have a voice in maintaining peace. and keeping that culture of peace really in Grenada alive. And so really not just coming once and doing a program and leaving, but really being able to have that education take an effect on youth's daily lives even in the communities here. And then also we have our DPCW, which is the international law framework that we were talking about. And something that we've been discussing with the ministries is signing that as a national declaration in Grenada as well. So really just showing that Grenada supports this peace at an international level as well as within their own country, and helping to even flagship the Caribbean as an internationally recognized peace zone.
Okay, you actually answered the next question I was going to ask, which is about coming back. This is not just a one-off visit. You're going to be back here to talk to the school children and so on and so forth.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that's and we're talking with the ministries and about that.
All right. Well, guys, I'll tell you, I wish you the best of luck, and I hope to see you again. And I'm going to leave with this question. I'm going to give you both another chance because it's already been touched on, but I want you to explain your optimism that we will eventually see, if not total peace, things a little bit better than they are right now, huh? Let me hear you. Let's start with you.
So explaining our optimism, where it comes from, or...
Yeah, where does that optimism come from?
I think it has to come from a place of hope.
Yeah.
I think if you have hope for a better future and you can see it, then you can work towards it. I think it's like that with anything. You see a kid and he hopes to represent his country in the Olympics. He takes steps every single year to get to that place. So I think for someone who's studied international politics, international law, worked in international trade and international law, I've seen how peace is starting to be something that's kind of catching fire, if you will. Maybe that's not the best analogy, but it's really starting to really snowball. I think before you couldn't even study peace. When I was in school, I couldn't study peace. Now the school and the university that I went to has a curriculum for peace. So I think for me, it's having a hope that this will one day be achieved. Seeing the Declaration of Peace and Cessation of War with the practical steps to do so allows me to really continue to work towards the hope that I have.
All right, I guess that dovetails into something that you said earlier on about, the youth are the future, and despite the fact that you don't seem to think you're a youth, you're going to have this world to live in the future, and you're hopeful that you'll have a nice world to live in.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot. I've been talking with Joanne Galapagos and Daniel Hayes. They're with an organization which is headquartered in Korea, and they do have offices around the world. And that organization is known as Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light, for short, HWPL. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.
It's nice to see the youth of the world working towards peace. Thank you very much, youngsters. Pleasure talking with you last week. Folks, looks like we're running pretty much on time. We'll take a quick break here and come on back and wrap it up.
Start the stride to a healthy lifestyle at the 2019 annual Pump It Up Family Fun Walk. There'll be more fun, more smiles, and more prizes for families and friends. Join us in Carriacou on April 7th at 4 p.m. as we walk from the Harveyvale playing field to the Hillsborough tennis courts, and in Grenada on April 28th at 4 p.m. from the Montrouge playing field to the National Cricket Stadium. Packages cost $20 per person for up to 2 individuals and $15 per person for groups of 3 or more. Come out in your numbers to help us raise funds towards re-establishing the Carlton Home.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Alrighty, folks, 10 o'clock on the button. Let's leave you with a parting word of inspiration from the book of Psalms, Psalm 119, verses 1, 2, and 3. Blessed are those whose ways are blameless, who walk according to the law of the Lord. Blessed are those who keep his statutes and seek him with all their heart. They do no wrong, but follow his ways. Psalm 119, 1 to 13. John Crow, well, John checked in kind of late and wants to know what he missed. I'll tell you what, John. John, in just a few minutes, maybe in about 5 minutes or so, the program is going to be up on Facebook. You can check it out. And I hope you found what you were looking for yesterday. I think he missed one of the segments yesterday, and I saw something on Facebook where he was asking about it. Check out the archives right on the GrenadaBroadcast.com website. Look for Sundays with George Grant, and you'll find the file you were looking for. Also want to say good morning to Mandu Sears, who is joining us this morning. Thanks a lot, Mandu. Good to see you. Folks, that's going to do it. That's going to do it. Red looks good on you. John says, red looks good on you. Okay. Not one of my favorite colors, John, but there you go. Good to see you, folks. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning for the next edition of Gudday Grenada. Thanks a lot for joining us. May the good Lord bless and keep you.